All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're popping the hood on the incredible biological machine that powers every single thing you do, from running a marathon to just nodding your head. We're getting into the nuts and bolts of locomotion and movement. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down the basics. Then we'll dive into the engine room, the muscles themselves. After that, we'll crack the code on how they actually work on a microscopic level. And finally, we'll look at the bony framework that makes it all possible.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about two words you probably use interchangeably all the time: movement and locomotion. Now, in biology, they mean very different things, and getting this distinction right is kind of the key to understanding everything else.
So have you ever stopped to think about it? Is just waving your hand biologically the same thing as, say, walking across the room? I mean, they both use muscles, right? But only one of them is actually getting you from one spot to another. And the difference is actually beautifully simple. Movement is any change in your body's posture. We're talking blinking, gesturing, even speaking. But locomotion, that's specifically the act of moving your entire body from point A to point B. So here's the golden rule, the main takeaway. When you walk, that's both locomotion and movement. But when you're just standing still and you nod your head, that's only movement. It's a simple idea, but it's absolutely vital. And what's really amazing is that our bodies use all kinds of movement, not just our big muscles. I mean, get this, your white blood cells are literally crawling around inside you like little amoebas. You've got tiny hairs called cilia pushing stuff along in your windpipe. But for today, we're going to focus on the big one, muscular movement. So let's go deep inside that engine room. Let's talk about our muscles. This is where all the raw power comes from. And just to give you a sense of scale here, your muscles are a huge part of you. We're talking 40 to 50% of your total body weight. They are the incredible machines driving every single motion you make. Now, to really get how a muscle works, there's this fantastic analogy. Think of it like a set of Russian nesting dolls. You know, a series of boxes packed inside bigger and bigger boxes. It's this incredibly organized, layered structure. And you can see that layering system perfectly right here. You start with the whole muscle, then you zoom in, and you find these bundles called fascicles. You zoom in on a fascicle, and you find the individual muscle fibers. Those are the actual cells. And then deep inside each cell, you finally get to the tiny threads that do all the work, the myofibrils. Okay, now for what is honestly the most incredible part of all of this. How do these tiny little threads create enough force to let you lift heavy things, run, or jump? It's time to crack the contraction code. Well, the secret is hidden inside this tiny repeating structure called a sarcomere. This is the basic unit of a muscle. If you look at it under a microscope, you'd see these light and dark bands, which are made up of two key proteins. The thin ones are called actin, and the thick ones are called myosin. So how does it all start? Well, it kicks off with a command. An electrical signal literally zips from your brain or spinal cord down a nerve cell and right to the muscle fiber. It's basically a message saying, okay, time to get to work. And that signal tells a special structure inside the muscle cell called the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release its secret weapon, a huge flood of calcium ions. Think of calcium as the key that unlocks the entire contraction process. So that calcium floods the cell and kicks off this incredible, super fast molecular dance. It allows the heads on the thick myosin filaments to grab onto the thin actin filaments. Then they pull, release, reset, and grab again, over and over. It's almost like they're pulling hand over hand on a rope. And when you look at what's happening to the sarcomere, the result is just dramatic. As those actin filaments get pulled inward, the lighter bands shrink, and the ends of the sarcomeres, the Z-lines, get pulled closer together. The whole unit gets shorter. And you have to remember, this is happening in millions of sarcomeres, all at once, just to create a single twitch. But, and this is the one thing you absolutely have to remember, especially if you're a bio student, through this whole process, the dark A band, which is the length of that thick myosin filament, it never changes length. The filaments slide past each other. They don't actually shrink. Okay, so all this pulling and contracting is amazing, right? But it would be totally useless if there wasn't something solid for the muscles to pull against. And that's where your skeleton comes into the picture. And that something is this incredible, strong internal framework made up of 206 separate bones in an adult human. And get this for comparison. You have those 206 bones, and they're being pulled on and moved by over 600 skeletal muscles, all working together in this incredibly coordinated symphony of movement. Now, this whole framework is organized really neatly into two main sections. You've got the axial skeleton, that's your skulls, spine, and ribs, forming the central core of your body. And then you have the appendicular skeleton, which is basically your arms, legs, and the bones that attach them to the core. So you see, your skeleton isn't just some passive scaffolding. It's a dynamic, living system. It gives you support, it protects your organs, it anchors your muscles so you can move, and it even produces your blood cells. It's doing a lot of work. And that just leaves us with one final, kind of mind-blowing thought. The fact that millions upon millions of microscopic protein threads sliding past each other without ever changing their own length, the fact that these tiny microscopic tugs of war can all add up to create the incredible force needed to lift hundreds of pounds or perform a delicate dance, well, it's just a masterpiece of biological engineering.